Hello. Oops, oh, don't want to go that way. Should I give it a few more minutes? Where are we at? I'm gonna give it one more minute. I guess not last week. I wasn't here last week. Week before, it seemed like a lot of people showed up 5 minutes in. So I'm gonna give it a few minutes. Maybe not sit so close to the camera. Can you guys hear me okay? Anyone want to give me a hands up? High five. Yay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna start. Welcome everyone. I missed everyone last week. I was on a family vacation, which is actually kind of what prompted this webinar on practicing self-compassion. I had spent the week with my family in Black Butte. We go there every year. It's a tradition. My father and his brothers purchased this house back in the 70s, so I've really spent my entire life going there every year, and it's a very special place. And I look forward to it every year. But this year when I got there, I was really struggling with some self-image issues. First time I've been in a swimsuit in a long time. I've spent most of COVID in yoga pants, so I hadn't really realized the amount of weight that I have gained. And here I am sitting by a pool, so all of a sudden I'm focusing on my weight. And then I started feeling really horrible that I am sitting by a pool focusing on my self-image and how superficial that is while we're in the midst of a pandemic and there's racism and feds are occupying the streets and whatnot. And so these thoughts started occupying my mind and taking me away from the present. And I needed to do some self-care, compassion, not criticism, to help me get back to the present. So I reached into my toolbox and I wanted to share some of those things in my toolbox with you guys. First off, I think many patients have a limited view of what they can do that's considered self-care. Before COVID, I wore many hats. I'm a mom of two. I was, self-employed, working as a naturopath, as a doctor, and I would get exhausted. And so I would try to kind of squelch my anxiety or my cortisol burden with a lot of self-care techniques, such as maybe spending the day in the spa or going for a walk in the forest, doing yoga, that type of stuff. And since this time with COVID, my life isn't so rushed. I'm not feeling like I have to be I'm not trying to expand time in some weird secret way. And so those techniques aren't really serving me right now. And with all aspects in life, there's a balance between the feminine and the masculine, the yin and the yang. Nurture, validate, soothe, comfort. These are all very feminine ways of providing self-care. But sometimes we need to approach self-care from a more masculine way. This would include stuff like protecting, providing, motivating, challenging. And I think after this past week, what I needed to focus on was more of the masculine side of self-care. So how do you know what's right for you? Well, one simple way is to, I'm sorry if you hear the dogs barking. One simple way is to recall a situation. And I doubt you guys are going to be able to see this, but you're going to write your problem, right? And you're just going to write your problem. And then you are going to write, what are some things that you can do to take care of your emotional needs, to comfort yourself? Maybe it is a spa day or, sitting in a hot bath or whatnot. What are some things that you can do to soothe yourself, feeling calmer, at ease, physically calmer and at ease? Maybe that is a really hard workout. Maybe that's going for a walk in the forest. And then what are some things you can say to yourself to help validate your feelings? The next part is you're going to do the more masculine stuff. What can you do to protect yourself from harm? Stop the harm. Maybe it's from others. Maybe it's from yourself. What can you, so for me, it's to stop saying that I'm fat and that I'm superficial for focusing on my weight. What can you give yourself to start providing for yourself? Well, I then came home and started back on my green smoothies and eating more veggies and more protein and less crackers and chips and that type of stuff. And then how can you motivate yourself with kindness, support, understanding rather than criticism? This is all a very good step at kind of identifying what you need. The next step after you do that is to actually do a vision board. Vision boards are really powerful. I had a patient, a longtime patient, who really had her first big moment in changing her perspective on her work stress by doing a vision board. When we learn to care for ourselves, meet our emotional needs, we find inner balance and thus able to meet other people's needs, the demands of the world. You know, it's like the airplane. In case of emergency, you're going to put your own oxygen mask on before you help others. And so to me, the idea of a vision board is to design your self-care. What does compassion look like for you? It's your visual representation of how to be compassionate. It's like your cheat sheet on how to take care of yourself. If you put it somewhere that you see daily, maybe it's in your kitchen, maybe it's in your bedroom, your bathroom, I don't know. It's also a reminder that this should be a focus. You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. But ultimately, it should be your motivator. And so put down images, pictures, words, things that you genuinely enjoy. Don't put running if you hate running. And words that grab at you. They really should have like a visceral reaction to it. They can be sensory, they can be emotional, physical, spiritual, social, whatever it is. But things that you view as healing. Maybe for like emotional care, it's a learn to say no. You have that don't sign and maybe no's in the middle of it, or you have a calendar and on the calendar Wednesday has me time. Maybe if you've wanted to learn a language like Spanish, it's a picture of a Spanish textbook. Maybe it's a gratitude list, that type of thing. Maybe for physical care, like self-care, it's stretching or yoga or massage. Maybe it's exhaustive workout. Maybe it's a bike ride. Maybe it's going to bed early. I don't know. You have to, what grabs at you? Social, maybe it's avoid toxic people. Maybe it's an SOS to like ask for help. Maybe it's a picture of your family. Maybe it's a picture of your friends. Maybe it's a road trip, something that you've been wanting to go to. Maybe if it's like my mom, it's a picture of an Eiffel Tower. And then spiritual. Maybe it's someone meditating. Maybe it's doing something nice for someone, giving someone flowers, helping out a neighbor, volunteering at a soup kitchen, I don't know. So you kind of want to do a full spectrum, right? And to me, the beginning steps of challenging your perspective is to envision what it will look like. It's part of this design thinking model. If you were going to design something, you're first going to brainstorm. You're going to create ideas. And what you are designing is what it means to be compassionate towards yourself. Make sense, everybody? The last thing in my toolbox, and I think this is actually a really powerful one, is learning to rate behavior rather than self. It amazes me the things that we will say to ourselves, but we would never say to anyone else. We can have unconditional love for our family, for our friends, but our self-acceptance is usually measured against some set of standards we've created in our mind. This is that kind of should terminology we often use. The goal of self-acceptance is not to feel good or bad, depending on how others feel about us, what they say, how they act around us, that type of stuff. It's accepting us for us. It is, unconditional love for yourself. This is also not a narcissistic way of living because you still can evaluate your behavior and can be motivated to change, but it's detached from making a claim on who you are as a person. I think if any of you have had kids or animals, then you know this in theory, right? A child can have a temper tantrum, a puppy can chew your shoe, and you want to correct their behavior, but you aren't labeling them as a horrible child or horrible puppy, right? You're still loving them unconditionally. So again, I really do love this exercise. I think it can be strangely enlightening. I want you to take a piece of paper and on the left side, make 3 columns. On the left, you're gonna write down a list of past mistakes or things that you regret. I would choose small things. Don't choose big, huge events in your life at first. Maybe you choose, when you pulled out in front of a car. So start small. And then next, you're gonna evaluate yourself. And last, you're gonna evaluate the behavior. Take, for instance, pulling out in front of the car. I pulled out in front of a car. My evaluation of myself, I'm so reckless, I'm absent-minded, what an idiot I am, I could have died. Evaluate of the behavior, forgetting to come to a full stop and looking both ways is dangerous. And now the motivation. From now on, when I come to a stop sign, I'm gonna stop for 5 seconds and make sure I look both ways twice, right? So I think what you'll find when you're done, many people, when they see it on the piece of paper, the valuation of the self seems extremely harsh and critical and uncalled for. And so you can start to see how you can have these self-defeating perspectives that you continually say to yourself, this negative self-talk. You may find the evaluation of the behavior then to also be motivating, right? Oh, I need to stop for 5 seconds and look both ways. Well, the evaluation of the self is very defeating. It's hard to improve from. I think with my dancing background, I'm really aware of body language, and I use it all the time when I'm interacting with patients. The body doesn't lie in my mind. And so the person who is criticizing themselves, the person who's saying a lot of shoulds, has a very stooped position. I should be doing this. I shouldn't think of that. I should. But the person who has gratitude is more open and expansive and, open to change. Restrictive, expansive. And I think that it's nice if you can get it down on paper, because for a lot of us, we are visual learners, and it really helps identify some of our kind of negative self-talk behaviors. So those are my 3 things in my toolbox. I would be happy to help anybody if they need more help designing it or just want someone to bounce ideas off. I am doing telemedicine appointments. You can actually book directly on calendly.com, Dr. Lindsay S. Nelson, or you can email me, drlindsaysnelson@gmail.com, and there's also a spot on my website. Did I say? Yeah, drlindsaysnelson.com. Thank you all for being here. Does anybody have any questions? You can ask in the Q&A. Raise your hand. Nothing? All right. Thank you, everyone. Don't know what I'll be talking about next week. I am open to suggestions. Oh, actually, I will say I had a few patients that, were really loving the idea that I was talking about this today. And I had some great suggestions. University of San Diego School of Medicine, they do mindful compassion daily, I don't know if it was daily or weekly, little webinars. Thank you, Christy Dillon, for sending me that. Another patient sent me, Chopra Foundation does a 22-day meditation, compassion type of series. I'm on day 3 so far. I'm really liking it. So there are a lot of other avenues out there. Thank you, patients or friends who gave me some of those insights. Appreciate it. All right. Bye, everybody. Hopefully see you next week.